Did you know that Bethesda just dropped a totally new Elder Scrolls game? Yeah, it's not exactly what you'd think, but Bethesda seems to have a variety of secret projects going on right now, several of which are expected to drop this year and perhaps even some this week. But first, we have to highlight some of the recent departures from Bethesda. Earlier this week, it was announced that both Pete Hines, the head of publishing, and Will Shen, lead designer on Far Harbor and Starfield, have left Bethesda Game Studios. These are some incredibly high-up members at the company, so many have been wondering, is this related to the evolving reception of Starfield? And to pretty quickly answer that, no, almost certainly not. Pete Hines retiring is not shocking at all, and the timeline makes a ton of sense as well. Lots of the higher-ups at Bethesda likely had some kind of stock option, so when Microsoft bought ZeniMax, they likely got a decent payout for their shares. And oftentimes what follows here is there's going to be an agreement for some of the top names to stay on a few years to manage the transition, or in this case, oversee the release of their massive new game. Pete Hines is just retiring, riding off into the sunset after a hugely successful 24 years in gaming, and Will Shen is likely just leaving to work somewhere smaller or just do something fresh. He stayed on to see the release of Starfield and is now moving on to something new, working actually with the project lead of Fallout 76, or the previous project lead of the game. So as for some of the speculation that these departures are somehow a reaction to Starfield, to me that just seems unfounded and doesn't really make a ton of sense. Regardless of the Starfield review score on Steam, it's still one of the most played games on Xbox and has the largest launch in Bethesda history. There really hasn't been anything to suggest that Starfield is a failure, but there has been a ton of data to suggest it is a financial success. But yeah, what is going on with this new Elder Scrolls game? Well, a couple of weeks ago, Bethesda Game Studios, yeah, not just Bethesda, but specifically Todd Howard and co, dropped Elder Scrolls Castles on the Google Play Store. This is seemingly in a somewhat open but very limited beta, so they let in a limited number of players, and if you got in, you can play, but of course, the beta is now full. It's a pretty interesting game, basically Fallout Shelter with some new mechanics all themed around the Elder Scrolls. It has many of the familiar Fallout Shelter mechanics, like base building and trading up your subjects to build a strong army, but also a more unique dynasty component so you could dictate how rulers evolve over time. And it of course features many of the familiar races and characters from the Elder Scrolls series in a pretty interesting art style. And the interesting part about this is it makes a ton of sense. Like, I don't think anyone's shocked that the wildly successful Fallout Shelter was also adapted to the Elder Scrolls. It just makes sense financially. The bizarre part about this is the lack of acknowledgement. As far as I can tell, there's been no official comment or announcement to mention this game anywhere. It just got listed on the Google Play Store one day, and now it's been that way for several weeks with a couple thousand people playing. We've heard in the past how Fallout Shelter was the most played Fallout game ever, and literally just using that same formula for the more popular Elder Scrolls makes sense. As of right now, the developer is just listed as Bethesda Game Studios, but in all likelihood, a third party was contracted to work on this game, just like what they did with Fallout Shelter. Although that isn't all, as I highly suspect that we could be getting at least one, but maybe even two surprise drops from Bethesda Game Studios, and maybe even as early as this week. Fallout 4 is still slated to get a next-gen update in 2023. This was randomly announced last year in the middle of a larger article, and in that we learned that this was going to be a free update to Fallout 4. It's going to contain bug fixes, FPS improvements, quality improvements for 4K, and perhaps most exciting, bonus Creation Club content, so likely some new pieces of content will get added. The bonus Creation Club content is exciting as this could be somewhat substantial. We've seen how with Skyrim Anniversary Edition, Bethesda had a ton of Creation Club content backlogged. Because while the last Creation Club release was in late 2019, many of the Creation Club members continued working on things even after that into 2021. So as far as I know, they have paid for and completed Creation Club content that was just sitting there. That came out with Skyrim Anniversary Edition, and I imagine some of that's coming out here with the Fallout 4 Next Gen patch. Plus, if Fallout 4 could finally natively support above 60 FPS, that'd be pretty awesome. And even a couple of new bug fixes. Many of the old Fallout 4 bugs were fixed for Fallout 76, so getting some of those fixes carried over to Fallout 4 would be great. So the next gen patch in general sounds like a cool thing for the game, but where on earth is it? The only time this is officially mentioned was the original article from October 24th, 2022, basically 1 year ago. The only other official comment I've seen for this is from Pete Hines on Twitter a couple of months ago when asked about the update. update, he says, "Dunno if you've heard, but we're shipping a new game in 3 weeks. Bit of a priority. When we have an update, we'll share it." This, of course, referring to the upcoming launch of Starfield, because apparently asking about this free update that they announced 10 months earlier than when Radio Silent on was deserving of a snarky response. We're not allowed to ask questions about that. But funny enough, I think Pete Hines did kind of give us the answer here. The Fallout 4 Next Gen update has seemingly been progressing and getting work done all throughout 2023. On Steam, several new branches for Fallout 4 have been made and have been getting consistently updated, including every day this past week. Something is definitely going on here, and this is how we got that New Vegas 2 listing earlier in the year. And although development was ongoing, it's very likely that QA wasn't. As previously described by Microsoft, all of the QA at the company, including Bethesda, was working on getting Starfield ready for launch. So despite developers being able to work on the next-gen update, it seems like it wasn't able to be tested, at least not at the time. But now, of course, many of those QA workers are freed up, and the update is likely in testing right now. And the most likely time for us to learn more is literally this week. Monday is October 23rd, aka Bombs Drop Day. That's the day the bombs dropped in the Fallout universe. Bethesda typically has some celebrations around this time. It was actually how we got the announcement of the next-gen update in the first place last year. So I have to imagine we're going to be learning something new this week. Perhaps a trailer or announcement for the update, or even just a surprise drop of the update for Fallout 4. But my bet is we get a teaser showcasing some of the new features with a release date of November 10th to commemorate the 8th anniversary of Fallout 4. And depending on what Bethesda's ready to showcase, this could become a mini event just like it was last year. We just recently covered the leaked Fallout TV show teaser that was shared during Gamescom after a short presentation of Starfield, and just recently in one of the latest Fallout 76 updates, some tie-ins to the Fallout TV show were found, so perhaps all of this could be teased in some way to go along with the Fallout 4 Next Gen update. As of right now, we know the Fallout TV show isn't coming until 2024, but it wouldn't be that crazy for another short teaser to come out, or even for this teaser to release properly. But somehow that still isn't all, because we also have all of the Skyrim updates. I reported late last year how it seemed like Bethesda had some plans for a paid mod-like system to return to Skyrim. And to build that up, we've heard rumblings from past Creation Club members how something like this was coming. Skyrim has also been getting daily updates on SteamDB for a while now. This happened also before Skyrim Anniversary came out. And perhaps most evident of all, in the Starfield EULA, there are listings for these new creation credits. Not Creation Club credits like they were called previously, no, something new with creation credits. And Starfield even has in-game purchases listed in the ESRB rating. In all likelihood, Bethesda is planning a return to paid mods as a parallel to the free mods in Starfield. This likely using the Minecraft Marketplace-like model where the storefront is more free form. Creators can freely post and set prices while Bethesda just takes a revenue share. And I mean, why not try it out on Skyrim first before you bring it to Starfield? Skyrim still has tons of players. It's not like any new Elder Scrolls games are coming out anytime soon, unless you count Castles. Plus, paid mods as a monetization strategy would work super well with Bethesda's future plans. Remember all of those remasters that leaked from the big Xbox FTC leak? Well, those become a lot more lucrative if you could support them by microtransactions with paid mods. So now here, I'm not saying this is going to be good for us players, but I could definitely see why Microsoft would be happy to go this route. And I mean, they literally did it already after buying Mojang with Minecraft. And I honestly think this could just be suffering from the same problem as the Fallout 4 Next Gen update. All of the QA was on Starfield, so nobody was available to test the new paid mod shop for Skyrim. If Bethesda does have some announcements for the Fallout Anniversary, I would imagine that there's going to be something about the Skyrim update or new system, just like what they did with Skyrim Anniversary Edition a few years prior. And that still isn't all, as it was also just revealed that a Magic the Gathering Fallout crossover is coming. But with all of that said, yeah, Bethesda has been busier than most of you probably realized, releasing a completely new game and perhaps releasing major updates for some of their other titles in a very short time span. If you are interested in more Bethesda content, check out this video where I show you some of the best new mods to come to Starfield.